It's important to remember that you already have access to everything you need in order to begin practicing Kriya Yoga. It's really very simple. Essentially, all you need to do is begin making time once or twice a day to sit quietly in silence. Other than that, there are some very easy to understand philosophical principles that you live by. And then, of course, you just simply take care of your body and do your best to maintain healthy and supportive relationships. If you can do these things, that is all you really need as a foundation to begin your spiritual practice. Now, meditation techniques are varied. They're all different kinds. You can do breath awareness, pranayama, mantra, contemplation, prayer. And the good news is that there are so many different kinds of meditation that all you need to do is find the one that's most suitable to your temperament. Once you're able to do that, again, you begin practicing that once or twice a day. And ideally, you want to have a place set aside in your home or someplace you can go that is dedicated to meditation practice. When I first began meditating, I lived in a small 2-bedroom apartment with my fiancée at the time. And I was able to turn one of those rooms, a corner of one of those rooms, into a little place where I meditated. And all I had there was a little tray. And on that tray I had a candle. And I had a picture of Paramahansa Yogananda and Swami Sri Yukteswar. I also had a little incense burner. So every time I would go there in the morning, usually before the sun came up, I would light that candle. I would light a small bit of the incense, not the whole thing because it was a small apartment and I wanted to be able to breathe a little bit. And I would think about the lives of Paramahansa Yogananda, Swami Sri Yukteswar, as well as all the other teachers in the Kriya Yoga lineage. And I would think about how they are an inspiration for me to take up this path, to take up this practice. And I would sit there. And at the time, I had not yet learned the specific Kriya Pranayama procedures. All I knew how to do was to sit upright, close my eyes. I had a particular mantra that I learned from a book. I just let my breath deepen. And on the inhale, I'd recite that mantra. On the exhale, I'd recite that mantra. And I knew from reading books about meditation and yoga that part of the goal was to hold your awareness fully on the mantra, to fully on your meditation technique, and let go of everything else. So that's what I did. With the candle, occasionally what I would do is I would practice a type of meditation where I would simply gaze at the candle flame and let everything else go. And oftentimes I would gaze at that candle flame and I would imagine that all the distractions, all the worries, all the things that I thought were so important were being dissolved within the light of that candle flame. And in the beginning, it was not easy for me to meditate. You've heard me say this before. I believe the longest time I was able to meditate when I first started was about 7 minutes. But every day I would sit there for 7 minutes and I would do my best to fully concentrate on the process. And then as the months went by, that gradually got longer. And eventually I was meditating in the beginning for about a half hour in the morning and then a half hour in the evening, because that was the maximum capacity that I was able to do when I first learned meditation. So all you need is a place where you can go that is quiet, that is somewhat peaceful, where for 7, 10, 20, 30 minutes a day, you're going to sit there and you're going to be quiet. You're going to be still. And you might use a meditation technique to help in that regard. And again, I said in the beginning of this talk that you have access to everything you need to begin the practice. And that is true. Because in this current age, with books that are available, with techniques that are available on the internet, even on this YouTube channel, youtube.com/Kriya Yoga Online. You can learn basic techniques which will allow you to develop your capacity to focus and to meditate. And let's say you don't even have access to that. Well, you can pray, can't you? You were probably raised in some sort of religion. Well, what's an important prayer in that religion? For some, the Gayatri Mantra might be a wonderful approach. For others, the Lord's Prayer might be a wonderful approach. You recite that over and over again. Let your awareness sink into it until everything else just falls away. This is a wonderful way to begin training yourself to meditate well. And then having a place to go reinforces the practice, because whenever you do something in a certain place repeatedly, that becomes ingrained. For example, people when they go to sleep at night, when they go in the bedroom and they lay down, that over the years they've been trained when you're in that position, in that kind of environment, sleep comes. This is one of the reasons why individuals who have insomnia or can't sleep, they're advised not to stay in bed if they can't sleep. Because then essentially what's happening, the more they stay in bed and think, I can't sleep, they're training themselves that in the bedroom or in the bed, you're not supposed to sleep. So they say, go to the couch or go somewhere else and only sleep in your bedroom. So the same thing is true for your meditation space. The more you go there, the more repeatedly you practice there, then when you go and you sit down in your meditation space, your body, your mind, your nervous system already knows generally what's going to happen, and it's prepared for that. So this is very good to begin in that way. Now, there are certain principles that you follow in just about any authentic spiritual path, but we're talking about Kriya Yoga here, that you take into your life, and those are very simple. Essentially, it boils down to this. You want to be a good person. You want to be harmless. Don't harm other people. Don't harm other things. Be good to yourself and to others. Now, you're not a doormat. You're not being taken advantage of. So you do defend yourself and you do remove yourself from difficult situations when it's appropriate to do so. But when it comes to how you live your life, how you earn your money, how you interact with others, you maintain a sense of harmlessness, a sense of being kind to others in all of your interactions. But that also includes being kind to yourself. The other day I was talking with a relative, teenager, and this teenager is very much interested in saving the planet, getting a degree in conservation, microbiology, and these sorts of things. And luckily, many young people these days have an interest in that sort of a thing. But I noticed that this teenager, while she has a great desire to help the planet, sometimes she doesn't take very good care of herself, of her body, of her life. And it occurred to me, I said to her, part of saving the planet, part of taking care of the planet is also taking care of yourself, because you are a part of this planet. And the stronger and healthier and clearer you are, well, the greater service you can provide if that is your role. So the next step within this process is taking care of yourself. And you don't have to get involved in fads, and you don't have to become an Ayurvedic enthusiast if you don't want to. If you have a natural interest in that, fine. But just like one of the prime themes of the philosophy within the Yoga Sutras and Kriya Yoga is essentially simply be a good person, and all that entails. You might have to contemplate that. When it comes to health, you just take care of yourself. There are some basic things that most people agree upon will keep you healthy. Eat a nutritious, easy to digest diet. Exercise regularly. Make sleep a priority. Organize your sleep schedule so you go to bed at the same time, wake up at the same time, and get on a good schedule. So you want to take care of yourself. And many people are different, as with all things. So walking multiple times a week, or running multiple times a week, or doing yoga or qigong, including some vigorous aerobic exercise and even strength training, doing this on a regular basis, not so that it tears down and stresses out your body, but just so that it keeps you strong and healthy and invigorated. Doing that weekly, and ideally daily or every other day, keep your body moving. That will strengthen your mind and your nervous system and your body such that you're able to process higher states of consciousness. So eating a healthy, nutrition-rich diet. And from a yogic perspective, what's typically recommended is fresh whole grains, fruits, and vegetables, and cutting out foods with a lot of preservatives or extra stuff in it. So mostly unprocessed food, if you want to think of it like that. So healthy, fresh, nutritious fruits, vegetables, whole grains, a focus on that. As with all things, you don't have to be a fanatic about it. If you're going to have cake every now and then, no problem. If you're going to have lasagna every now and then, not a big deal. But the majority of the time, the diet is simple, healthy, nutritious, generally a plant-based diet. And again, eating on a regular schedule, eating breakfast at the same time, lunch at the same time, dinner at the same time, probably likely a lighter dinner, and making the main meal of the day, the lunch is the main meal of the day with bigger portions if you need it. But what does this do? Well, it allows you, as I mentioned, to process higher states of consciousness. Because if you're exercising, you're keeping your body enlivened and energized, if you're getting enough sleep, if you're eating a healthy diet, you are treating the vehicle of your consciousness, of your spirit, well. The same way that if you have a car, you change its oil, you change the struts when you need to, you might have to change the timing belt every 90,000 miles, you keep the tires good, you wax it so it doesn't get rust spots. You do that, your car runs great most of the time. The same is true for you. Do the basic things that the body requires to keep it healthy, enlivened, relaxed, and well rested. If you do that, then when you sit to meditate, you're less likely to fall asleep, doze off. You're less likely to take that time to have to recharge and heal yourself. Meditation can be wonderful for that, to reset the body and help the body heal through relaxation. But again, we want you to be such that you are already relaxed, you are already healed, so that you are able to meditate well, to engage the process that leads to clarity of awareness, greater spiritual awareness, clarity of consciousness. So meditating regularly, having a place to meditate, even if it's a very simple meditation practice, doing your best to be a good person, being harmless, being truthful, managing your resources well, letting go of any kind of possessiveness you have, again, being kind to all, as well as being kind to yourself and taking care of yourself. Honesty, integrity, these are things which help you to be more at peace inside. And when you have a greater peace inside and greater psychological balance, again, it's much easier to meditate for the purpose of what meditation and Kriya Yoga practice is about, which is exploring what it's like to experience your consciousness beyond the small sense of self, beyond the small sense of a mind and body, a limited sense of self. And then taking care of your body, well, we've discussed that. These are the things that are required to begin the process of Kriya Yoga. If you can master these things, if you can take your time with the simplicity of these things, and you do your best to attend to them without fanaticism, you are going to have a wonderful foundation. Now, beyond that, there are other things that are useful. For example, having an understanding of your motivation. Why are you even beginning this process? If it's for healing and feeling better, that's okay. But from my experience, it's best if you do basic life things that will allow you to be healed and will allow you to be happy. That is part of the Kriya Yoga process. Everything you do is part of the Kriya Yoga process. But ideally, one begins this once they are already inwardly peaceful, because this is about developing clearer states of consciousness from the inside out. It's not about trying to rearrange or organize the outside aspects of your life so that you have a superhuman experience, or an experience where you think things are going to go right for you all the time. We're talking about spiritual development here, which requires that you have a particular kind of perspective related to your personality and how the life plays out. Because eventually, the deeper you get into this process, you have to start exploring things like surrender and letting go of your small sense of self and releasing all of your attachments. It's very hard to do that if you've got some psychological aberrations going on, or you think that this is going to heal the world and heal the planet. It's not what it's for. But what are your motivations? If your motivation is to be content, if your motivation is to understand what the reality of God is, or to understand what the reality of pure consciousness is, or to understand what you are, what the self is, what the infinite, eternal, witnessing presence is, this will help keep you on the path, because it takes a while to figure that out. And as long as you know what your agenda is, what your motivation is, what you're aiming for, then as the months and years go by, you will be able to navigate by that star. And many people in olden days use stars to navigate. Well, when it comes to our meditation, our Kriya Yoga practice, we need to have some kind of star that we are looking towards, so that we're moving towards that as we practice. Now, of course, as we move in the direction of our motivation and that star that's guiding us, we have to be aware of the terrain that we're walking through. So you don't just keep your eye on the star and then ignore the terrain that you're walking over. So you will have to be adaptable in life, and you will have to grow and change. In an interview I did with Eugene Davis, I asked him, what is one of the greatest obstacles to this process, to this work? And he said there are a few, but one of the major ones is people not letting go or not willing to outgrow who they think they are. In a sense, what people want to do is hold on to what they think they are right now, just make it greater or freer, rather than recognizing that sometimes that freedom and that spiritual knowledge comes by letting go of who you think you are at this point in time. But anyway, back to the point. Considering what is motivating you. In my own life, I wanted to understand what this was all about, what life was all about. I was very philosophically driven. I wanted to know, why are we here? Why are we experiencing these things? I wanted to know, what is this greater reality that supposedly we're all a part of? So in my own life, I didn't come at it with this grand notion of understanding what God is in particular. But then again, I wasn't raised in a culture where that was such a big deal. For example, Yogananda, in the culture he was raised in, there was a profound emphasis on these ideas of divinity and divine mother and such. But not all of us have that kind of surroundings that ingrain that in us. But I want to know, what is this all about? And I had a sense that it's probably going to take a while to figure that out. People have to go, 10, 12 years to become a medical doctor, or 4 to 8 years to become a master engineer. Well, if you think about it that way, then to understand what this is all about, it's okay to imagine that it's going to take a lifetime. It doesn't have to take more than that, but it could take your lifetime. And that is why you're here, essentially. So consider your motivations. And every day that you get up and meditate, every day that you sit down to meditate, every moment that you spend in meditation, before you begin, remember that motivation and be willing to accept the possibility that you can realize that what you want to know, what you are seeking, what you are wanting to embody, whether it be understanding God, the infinite, or what enlightenment is, what the ideas of enlightenment are. So keeping this in mind, with this little bit of knowledge, you can begin practicing Kriya Yoga. And then as you get better at meditation, as your life becomes more organized, as your awareness naturally clears, and you become more peaceful inside. Then it will be much easier for you to go deeper into the process. Then, for example, individuals who take the 2-year Kriya Yoga apprenticeship course at KriyaYogaOnline.com, when they go into that, if they've begun with this initial understanding, then when they begin the course, it makes it easier for them to understand the principles within the Yoga Sutras, the principles within the Bhagavad Gita. When you begin listening to more detailed lectures or teachings on Kriya Yoga philosophy or any kind of spiritual philosophy or meditation techniques, if you've already had this kind of fundamental life change, meditating regularly, treating your body well, doing your best to be a good person, working out all your little psychological quirks, even if that requires working with a professional, then when it comes to beginning an intensified practice, a deeper practice, it's much easier. Then if you are interested in exploring the Kriya Yoga initiation process, or even having a relationship, a teacher-student relationship with a Kriya Yoga teacher, it makes it so much easier. So keep this in mind as you think about what does it really mean to begin practicing Kriya Yoga, and recognize that there are just some fundamental life practices that will help to align you as a human being to this process. And it's not complicated. It may be difficult based on, maybe you have some childish ideas of how you think things should be. Or maybe, again, you have some psychological things that you've got to work out. But it's not hard if you're committed to doing it, and if you're willing to do what it takes to live that kind of simple life. You're going to be well on your way to practicing Kriya Yoga and understanding the deeper principles and processes of what it means to clarify your awareness intellectually, psychologically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and to become a mature human being. And a mature human being is one who has woken up to their spiritual potential and their spiritual origins, and they know what they are. So this is why we practice, and this is how you can begin.